Welcome to another deep dive with us. Today we're gonna dive into something called growth mindset.
Oh, yeah.
It's this fascinating idea that your abilities and intelligence, they're not just fixed. They're not just set in stone.
Right.
And that you can actually develop them, kind of like unlocking superpowers or something.
Yeah, and the really interesting part is, this isn't just like a self-help, rah-rah kind of thing.
Yeah.
This is like, there's a lot of research behind it, a lot of really solid science that's showing that you can actually, change how resilient you are and how successful you are and even how your brain works.
Okay, all right, now I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
But I gotta ask, can we break this down a little bit?
Sure.
What exactly is a growth mindset? And how is it different from, just the way most people think about their abilities?
Yeah. So I think a good way to think about it is, a lot of people believe that, you're basically stuck with the skills that you're born with.
Right.
And a growth mindset says, no, you can constantly be learning and improving.
Okay.
Through effort. And, so if you're struggling with something, it's not because, I'm just not a math person.
Right.
Or I'm just not good at this. It's a sign that, you need to change your approach. You need to keep learning, put in the work.
I like that.
Yeah.
That takes the pressure off a little bit. Like, okay.
Totally.
Not that I wasn't just born to not be good at math. I just haven't figured it out yet.
Exactly.
But doesn't everyone want to improve?
Yeah.
What makes this mindset so...
Yes, that's a good question. Because a growth mindset isn't just about wanting to improve.
Yeah.
It's about how you view challenges and setbacks.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So people with this mindset
think
kind of embrace challenges. They see effort as the path to mastery.
Right.
And even when they get criticism, they kind of learn from it instead of getting discouraged.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like they're wired differently.
So it's not even about just avoiding all the tough stuff.
Right.
It's about approaching it with a different attitude.
Totally. It's like they have a secret weapon.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because think about it. If you see failure as a learning opportunity instead of a total defeat, how much more likely are you to keep trying at something?
That's true. That's true.
It's true.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm starting to see how powerful this could be.
Yeah.
But is there like a real world example of this in action? It still sounds kind of abstract to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The source material actually had a really good example, and that's Michael Jordan. Most people know that he's one of the greatest basketball players of all time.
Yeah.
But did you know that he actually got cut from his high school varsity team?
Michael Jordan
got cut.
That's wild.
Right. So, but here's the growth mindset part.
Okay.
Instead of just giving up, he used that as fuel.
Wow.
He was like, all right, I'm going to double down on my practice. I'm going to focus on improving my weaknesses.
Right.
And he even used visualization techniques to mentally rehearse his game. So he literally turned that rejection into a stepping stone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That puts things in perspective for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So a growth mindset helps us reframe failure and actually use it to get better.
Okay.
But you mentioned earlier, the science part of it.
Yeah.
How does this all connect to the way our brains actually work?
All right. So this is where it gets really cool. Okay. Have you ever heard of the term neuroplasticity?
Yeah, I think I have.
Yeah.
But I don't really know what it means.
Okay, well, it's basically the idea that our brains can change and adapt throughout our lives.
Oh.
So they're not just...
So it's not like we're just stuck with a certain wiring or whatever.
No, and what's really amazing is every experience that we have, everything that we learn.
Yeah.
It actually changes the physical structure of our brain.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's our brains are constantly rewiring themselves based on what you do and think.
Yeah. Think of it like this. Your brain is like a muscle.
Okay.
And the more you challenge it with new information, problem solving, skill building, the stronger and more adaptable it becomes.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So it's a growth mindset basically allows us to unlock our brain's potential.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
And this is where the work of a psychologist named Carol Dweck comes in. She's She's kind of the person who really put this whole growth mindset thing on the map.
Right.
And her research shows just how powerful it can really be.
Can you give me like an example of the kind of research that she did?
Yeah, so she's done tons of studies, especially with students.
Right.
And the results are like super clear.
Okay.
The students who embraced a growth mindset, they consistently outperformed the ones with a fixed mindset.
So it's not just like a feel-good theory.
No.
There's actual data to back this up.
Yeah. There's tons of data to back it up.
Wow.
And the crazy thing is, it goes way beyond the classroom. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We're talking about a mindset that can impact your success in like pretty much any area of life.
Interesting.
You know, like relationships, careers, creative pursuits, you name it.
Okay, wow. This is really sinking in for me.
Yeah.
So if I'm understanding this right, a growth mindset,
Yeah.
it helps us view challenges differently. Helps us use setbacks to learn and grow. Yeah. And it even like physically changes our brains.
You got it.
Okay.
You got it. But, you know, knowing the what, that's just the first step.
Right.
The real magic happens when we start putting these principles into practice.
Okay. So how do we do that?
Yeah.
How can we actually start cultivating a growth mindset and applying it, you know, to our own lives?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And luckily,
luckily,
there's a ton of practical strategies that we can use.
All right. Let's dive into that.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
Okay. So we've talked about kind of like the foundation of a growth mindset, you know, all the amazing potential that it has. But now I'm kind of like, I'm itching to get practical.
Yeah.
How do we actually start building this mindset, you know, applying it to our lives? Yeah,
well, I think if you think back to that Michael Jordan example, you know, his story really highlights one of the key strategies, which is reframing failure.
Right.
You know, instead of just letting that setback define him, he used it as like fuel for his drive and his commitment.
Okay, but that's Michael Jordan.
Right.
He's like a superhuman athlete.
Right.
You know, how can regular people like reframe failure when it just feels crummy?
It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
But you know, one of the things that the source material really emphasizes that it's not about denying like the sting of failure. Like you're allowed to feel disappointed, you're allowed to feel frustrated.
Right.
It's about what you do with those feelings.
So instead of dwelling on the negative, we should try to find like the lesson.
Right.
Or the opportunity within the failure.
Exactly. Yeah. Ask yourself, like, what did I learn from this? How can I approach it differently next time?
Okay.
You know.
So it's about shifting our perspective.
Yeah.
What are some other strategies we can use to kind of build this growth mindset muscle?
Yeah. Well, another really powerful one is embracing discomfort.
Okay.
You know, think about it.
Okay.
Anytime that you've truly grown or learned something new, chances are it involves some level of discomfort.
That's true, actually.
Right. Maybe even like a little fear.
Yeah. When I first started learning a new language, I felt so awkward. Like I was just fumbling all over the place. But the more I did it, the more confident I became.
Totally. Discomfort is often a sign that we're stretching ourselves, that we're pushing beyond those familiar boundaries.
Right.
You know,
that's
where real growth happens.
So how do we know, like, when discomfort is productive, you know, versus like when it's a sign that maybe we need to change course?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And I think it comes down to like recognizing the difference between discomfort that motivates you to like push harder and discomfort that like totally paralyzes you with like fear or self-doubt.
Okay.
You know, so if it's the latter, it might be a sign to kind of like reevaluate your approach or maybe seek some support.
So it's about being mindful of our feelings and kind of understanding what they're telling us.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. What else can we do to kind of build a growth mindset?
Well, one strategy that I really like and that actually like ties in really well with embracing discomfort is setting small, achievable goals.
Oh, yeah.
You know, this can help kind of build momentum and prevent us from feeling overwhelmed.
I love that. Because sometimes those big, ambitious goals,
it's like,
they can feel so daunting.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
just like, I don't even know where to start.
It's like, where do I even begin?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so by breaking those big goals down into smaller, more manageable steps, you create this sense of progress and accomplishment.
Okay.
And each small win kind of fuels your motivation.
Yeah.
And reinforces that growth mindset.
It's like we're training our brains to like celebrate progress and build confidence along the way.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, and that's actually crucial for developing another key ingredient of a growth mindset.
Okay.
And that is resilience.
Resilience.
Yes.
Everyone talks about how important it is.
It's like the buzzword, right?
Yeah, but it's always felt like a kind of vague concept to me. Like how does it actually work?
Yeah, so remember how we talked about like neuroplasticity and how our brains can actually rewire themselves? Like resilience is literally built on that foundation.
Okay.
So each time we face a challenge, we learn from it, we adapt. We're actually strengthening those neural pathways that help us cope with stress and adversity.
So facing challenges, setbacks, as long as we're approaching them with the right mindset,
yes,
it actually makes us more resilient over time.
Totally. It's like building mental calluses.
Okay.
The more we expose ourselves to these challenges, the tougher we become.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Are there like specific things we can do to kind of actively build resilience?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
The source material highlights a bunch of different techniques.
Okay.
And one that I really liked
was
focusing on the process and not just the outcome.
Okay. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. It's about kind of like shifting your attention from like the end goal to like the journey itself.
Okay.
You know, because when you fixate just on the outcome, it's really easy to get discouraged by setbacks.
Right. Yeah.
And lose sight of all the progress that you're making along the way.
So instead of just like focusing on winning the game, you should also appreciate the skills you're developing and the effort you're putting in.
Yeah. Find the joy in the learning process.
Right.
Recognize that, growth is a continuous journey.
I'm starting to really see how these pieces all fit together. Like reframing failure, embracing discomfort, setting those small goals, focusing on the process. They're all kind of like contributing to building that resilient, growth-oriented mindset.
Yeah, you're totally right.
Okay, cool.
And another key aspect of resilience is seeking support when you need it.
Oh, yeah, the power of community.
Yeah, the power of community.
I think a lot of people, myself included, we struggle to ask for help sometimes.
Yeah.
It feels like admitting weakness.
Right. Yeah, it's like I should be able to do this on my own.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's a misconception. Seeking support is actually a sign of strength.
Okay.
It shows that you're committed to your growth and that you're willing to reach out for guidance when you need it.
So it's about recognizing that we don't have to go through everything alone.
You got it.
Yeah. Okay.
Having a supportive network of mentors, of friends, of family, even a therapist, that can make a world of difference.
It's like having cheerleaders in your corner.
Yeah, totally.
Right. Reminding you of your strengths and helping you, when you stumble a little bit.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of just sharing your experiences and your challenges with others.
Yeah.
Sometimes, just talking it out can help us gain clarity and find solutions.
Okay, so we've got reframing failure.
Yeah.
Embracing discomfort. Setting small goals, focusing on the process.
Yeah.
And seeking support.
Yes.
Anything else we can kind of add to this resilience toolkit?
Yeah. One more that's often overlooked is mindfulness and reflection.
Mindfulness, isn't that about meditation and stuff?
Yeah. Well, it's a little bit more than that.
Okay.
Mindfulness is really about paying attention to the present moment without judgment.
Okay.
It's about noticing your thoughts and your feelings without getting totally swept away by them.
So taking a step back from the whirlwind of our thoughts and emotions and just observing them objectively.
Exactly. And by doing that, we create this space to choose how we're going to respond to those thoughts and feelings.
So instead of just automatically reacting with negativity or self-doubt, we can pause, assess the situation, and kind of choose a more constructive response.
You got it. And reflection kind of goes hand in hand with mindfulness.
Yeah.
It's about like taking the time to intentionally think about your experience, both the positive and the negative ones, and try to extract those valuable lessons from them.
So it's like we're turning our experiences into like data points.
Yes.
Right? Analyzing what worked, what didn't.
Totally.
And how we can like apply those insights to future situations.
Exactly. Yeah. And by regularly engaging in this process of mindfulness and reflection, we become much more aware of our own thought patterns, our emotional triggers, our behavioral tendencies.
It's like we're becoming scientists of our own minds.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Figuring out how we tick and how we can, navigate those challenging moments with more grace and resilience.
I got it.
Wow, this is all so incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm finally starting to understand like the nuts and bolts of resilience and how to build it.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
This has been an incredible journey so far, but I am curious to hear more about how this growth mindset can be applied in specific areas, like, education, the workplace.
Yeah.
Can we dive into that next?
Absolutely. The potential applications are vast and exciting. So let's explore those in a little bit more detail.
Wow, we've covered so much in this deep dive. From the science behind how our brains change all the way to like practical tips for reframing failure, building resilience.
Yeah, it's all connected, right?
Yeah, it's all connected by this idea of a growth mindset. Believing that your abilities can evolve. Yeah. Embracing those challenges instead of being afraid of them.
Totally.
But before we wrap up, I'm really curious about something we touched on earlier.
Yeah.
How is this growth mindset being used beyond like individual success?
Right.
Like in schools or in the workplace. It seems like it could be like a real game changer.
You're absolutely right. The implications of this, they go way beyond just like personal achievement. So let's start with education.
Okay.
There's a growing movement to incorporate these growth mindset principles into like the way that kids are taught from like elementary school all the way up.
So instead of just focusing on like grades and test scores, it's about encouraging kids to like embrace learning for its own sake.
Totally. Yeah. See mistakes as part of the process.
Yeah.
One of the source materials actually highlighted this fascinating example of a school in Chicago that like completely revamped their approach to math education.
Okay.
And instead of like labeling kids as like good or bad at math, they focused on teaching these growth mindset principles.
What happened?
The results were incredible.
Really?
Like not only did the students' math scores improve significantly, but they also like showed this increased motivation, more engagement, and even like a greater love for learning.
That makes you wonder how many kids are kind of like held back because they've been told they're just not good at something.
Right, and it becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. What about in the workplace? Can this growth mindset stuff actually like apply in a corporate setting?
It absolutely can. And forward-thinking companies, they're already recognizing this.
Okay.
They're seeing the benefits. So instead of like seeing their employees' abilities as fixed, they're creating environments that encourage continuous learning, skill development, even like calculated risk taking.
So less about fitting people into specific roles and more about like empowering them to grow and evolve within the company.
You got it. Yeah. The source material mentioned Google as like a prime example of this.
Oh, okay.
They actively encourage their employees to dedicate 20% of their work time to personal projects or learning new skills.
That's amazing.
Even if it's outside their like current job description.
Okay.
I
mean, that level of freedom and support just seems so rare.
It is. Which is why it's exciting to see these ideas gaining more traction.
Right.
Like imagine a world where companies embraced this culture of continuous learning, feedback, growth.
It would benefit not just the employees, but the organizations themselves.
Yeah, it would lead to more innovative, more adaptable organizations.
I'm starting to see how this shift in mindset could have like a real ripple effect. Not just on individuals, but on on entire systems and cultures.
It's about moving away from that fixed mindset that limits potential and embracing a growth mindset that really unlocks all these possibilities.
Yeah.
And it all starts with, each of us taking those small but consistent steps to shift our thinking.
Right.
And approach challenges with that curiosity and that willingness to learn.
This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive. I feel like I've not only gained a deeper understanding of growth mindset, but also like a renewed sense of optimism.
Right.
About my own potential and the potential for positive change.
That's great.
In the world.
I love that.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into growth mindset.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I hope our listeners found this exploration as insightful and empowering as I have.
Yeah.
And remember, it's never too late to start cultivating this incredible mindset.
Absolutely.
And embrace the transformative power of growth.
Couldn't agree more.
Until next time, keep diving deep